All right, we're just 4 weeks into the 2024 NFL season, and already we have a major trade request as former All-Pro wide receiver Devante Adams has officially requested a trade from the Las Vegas Raiders. And for those of us who have been following the story, keeping an eye on it throughout the offseason, this comes as a surprise to none of us. Absolutely none of us. Adams has been very open about how he's been disgruntled, unhappy with the Raiders organization since they let go of Derek Carr. I mean, he was the best receiver in the league when he demanded a trade from the Packers. He came to the Raiders to play with Derek Carr. Josh McDaniels is the head coach. We know how that usually goes. They run Carr out of town, then they run McDaniels out of town last year, and Adams has just been unhappy. The quarterback play has been abysmal. The team has been abysmal. The organization has been abysmal, and he is not about it. And I think things finally came to a head after a pretty bad start to the season for the Raiders. Now, they had a really major upset in week 2, but then they lose at home embarrassingly to the Panthers in week 3. And then late in the week last week, Adams is a scratch, says, oh, my hamstring's tightening up. I can't play. He doesn't play, and it looks like Adams has probably played his final down for the Raiders. I'm sure that hamstring is fine. It'll magically get better as soon as he's out of town. And the Raiders, it came out Monday, were reportedly contacting teams about potentially, having Adams available. And then it just flat out on Tuesday, Adams requested a trade from the Raiders. And we've kind of all seen this coming. Who can blame him? I mean, if you watch the Netflix show Receiver, he was so disgruntled. He was in living hell last year playing for this team. He hates it because he knows the prime of his career is probably behind him and he's got these precious few seasons left. We've seen Adams' production drop year in and year out. Could that be because of the quarterback play? Or could it be, he is a receiver north of 30 and receivers tend to age really fast and really bad. So he's definitely not the Devante Adams that I think are in most people's heads, but he's still a valuable, probably 1A, 1B type receiver that any team that's looking for help at the position and can make a championship run would add. So the real question is, where does Adams go? The Raiders are apparently not asking for too much, and it's really beneficial. They could easily get out of this contract. He is a $25 million cap hit for this season. They don't take the dead cap money, and there's an out. They have an out for just 15.7 dead cap next year. So this is definitely doable. We'll have to work what the cap is for the teams that could potentially trade for Adams are, but this is very feasible for a lot of teams. Obviously, the first team that comes to mind right there, the New York Jets with his boy toy, Aaron Rodgers, BFFs for life, I guess. I mean, these two were the most dynamic duo in the NFL when they had their time together in Green Bay. There was no deadlier combo across the league, and the Jets could desperately use some wide receiver help. I mean, good gosh, they have Garrett Wilson and Alan Lazard. Are we serious? Now, they have other issues in New York, mainly Nathaniel Hackett and Robert Saleh. This whole coaching staff is terrible. So on paper, it looks good. It probably will feel good for Jet fans to get them. And the Raiders honestly aren't asking for a lot, just a second-round pick and maybe a little bit else, so a 6th or a 7th swap. This is very, very doable for a guy who I think can make an immediate impact right now for a team. So the Jets are the favorite in Vegas, the heavy favorite, because it's something the Jets would do. The Jets are desperate. Everybody knows they're all getting fired if they do not make the playoffs this year, if this is a dud year, and they're sitting in a tumultuous spot. They're 2-2 right now. They're going to London this week, playing the 4-0 Vikings, so potentially 2-3. And things don't look great, especially on the offense. So I think he definitely would add, but I think there are major root issues with this team. It's rotten to the core offensively that I don't know Devante Adams can go in there and fix. And does Devante Adams really want to be frustrated again, stuck with the Jets? They get this contract for another 2 years. Rodgers retires, and he's just unhappy and he wants to be traded again. I don't know if that's a good move for them. Other teams interested, obviously the Steelers. Steelers off to maybe a surprising 3-1 start, and they just need help at wide receiver. They have George Pickens and nobody else. Justin Fields, not the best quarterback in the world. He's been playing a little bit better. It's a run-first offense, but Pittsburgh's definitely made it known that they are interested. The sexy team, the big sexy team that we all know that they could do this is the Dallas Cowboys, right? Jerry Jones we're all in. We're all in. They do nothing in the draft. They do nothing in the free agency. They go in there, they spend a second round pick and a fourth round pick because, it's Jerry. He's going to overspend. They bring in Devante Adams and they try and spice up the offense. The offense can't run the football. They have no problem throwing the ball. They just can't run the ball. But you pair Devante Adams with CeeDee Lamb. Screw it. We're going to throw the ball 75 times a game. We're going peak Chip Kelly, Oregon offense, running backs, running the football. Who needs it? We just throw it to Devante, throw it to CeeDee, throw it to Jake Ferguson, Brandon Cooks if he's healthy, and hope to God our defense can hold together. But they're dealing with a lot of major injuries on there. So I think the Cowboys would be the funniest team here if they were to trade for Adams. The real dark horse that I'm just going to jump to right now, the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, everyone's like, the Chiefs need a wide receiver. They're so beat up. They lose Rashee Rice for probably the entire year, maybe just the regular season, but he ain't playing until the playoffs if he plays at all. They lost Isaiah Pacheco. Xavier Worthy is their leading receiver on this team, and then they have old man fat Travis Kelce, who's playing tight end. But the Raiders and Chiefs are in the same division. There is in no universe where the Raiders are going to trade Devante Adams to the Chiefs for a second round pick. Like, maybe if you get a first round pick and a second round pick, like, you just have to massively overpay if you're Kansas City to acquire a talent like Devante Adams in division. It just doesn't happen. As much as I would like to see it, even though, like I said, we've seen some drop in Devante Adams, he still can get up and down the field. He can still definitely get open. And with a quarterback like Mahomes, he'll just throw it to him and Adams will catch it. But that's never happening. In a dream world, that isn't happening. The real team that I think could absolutely and should absolutely go make a move like this for Devante Adams, the Washington Commanders. The best offense in football through the first 4 weeks. They've scored on 68% of their drives. I keep harping on this. It's the best mark over any 4-game stretch like ever in the history of the NFL. This team is high flying with Cliff Kingsbury calling the show, and Jaden Daniels has emerged as an elite rookie quarterback. He's been awesome. He takes care of the football. He's got a high completion percentage, the highest completion percentage of any rookie quarterback in NFL history through his first 4 games. And he would pair perfectly with a guy like Terry McLaurin, 2 like 1A, 1B type receivers, because I'm a big scary Terry guy. I think Terry McLaurin is a truly underrated wide receiver. He still can get open. He still makes big time plays and big time catches, and that will just help things out. And not to mention that Washington has a really strong run game. They have like a 3-headed monster back there in Brian Robinson. We saw Austin Eckler was doing well until he got injured. And then we got my boy McNichols last week with 2 touchdowns. So they have a carousel of running backs. The offensive line play has been really well. And a young developing quarterback that looks like he's a stud. What else could you need? Because Devante Adams is a safety blanket. He's a guy. Now, the question you worry about here, is it too much drama? Is it too much diva? High-end wide receivers demand a lot of volume. Throw me the ball, just get me the ball in tough situations. And that's not always great for a young quarterback's development. Let's be honest. You don't want it to be like that. Like we saw Dak Prescott. He kind of struggled his first few years with Dez. Like, they were winning games, but when they couldn't run the football and he had to feed it to Dez, it just didn't work out good. When Dak really didn't have his number 1 wide receiver, he kind of developed. Amari Cooper was pretty good, but that was really it. He didn't feel like he had to force feed Cooper once he became more of an established guy, and then we've seen him with CeeDee Lamb over the last 4 seasons. So I think you kind of want to avoid maybe this kind of top high-end demand the ball receiver, because Adams definitely demands the ball. If you watch the receiver, he wants the football. He is one of those wide receivers. So I don't necessarily love that for my rookie quarterback, but I think Cliff will be able to manage that. Dan Quinn's a good head coach, I think. So I think that would gel out really, really well. Obviously, another team we're not talking enough about, the New Orleans Saints. The Saints off to a blistering start, 2-0. They've dropped the last 2. But Derek Carr, Devante Adams and Derek Carr, like, truly have a great friendship. As much as I said Aaron is his BFF for life, it's got to be Derek Carr. They have a special bond from college. He got out of Green Bay to go play with Carr in Vegas, and he wants to go play with him again in New Orleans. So that's definitely a potential team, because this team needs another wide receiver. Rashid Shaheed is like the number 2 receiver there, and he's like all or nothing. He's a boomer bust guy. You have Chris Olave, who is a good number 1 wide receiver. And this offense needs something, because this offense is so run reliant. We've seen them get shut down the last 2 weeks running the the football and kind of have to grind games out, and it doesn't really work for them because we kind of know what Derek Carr is. I'm glad an elite receiver like Devante Adams loves Derek Carr because he really ain't that good of a quarterback. He's just not. He's okay. He's not great, but that will help ease things out. It'll allow them to run the ball better. The defense is really good in New Orleans still, so that could be another interesting landing spot for him. I think there's a lot of teams potentially out there that are going to inquire about him. Like I said, the money stuff will have to work itself out, but it's not too bad. One final team, the Buffalo Bills. How about the Bills? Bills are seriously on a Super Bowl or bust run, it feels like. They have no true elite guy. They got rid of Stephon Diggs, and it's kind of hurt them, really hurt them against Baltimore, just not having a dude who's a number one wide receiver. But again, the problem is Josh Allen took a couple of shots at Diggs saying it's nice to have guys who aren't all stats obsessed. And it feels like Adams is a stats-obsessed guy. He wants to get his numbers. He wants his catches. He wants his yards. He wants his touchdowns, which hurt. But you really, if you are going for a Super Bowl, if you are trying to win a championship, if your quarterback isn't out of this, if your quarterback basically isn't Patrick Mahomes with an elite defense behind him, you need to have a dude at wide receiver. You need to have an eraser. When things go bad, plays are broken, you need a dude to go out there 4th and 15, he'll go pick it up. 2 guys, 3 guys on him. He'll go get open. He'll go pick up those spots. You need that. That's what you need to win a championship in this league. You need a dude out there, and Buffalo desperately needs a dude. So I think that's a great potential option for him as well. I don't know. We're definitely going to see him out of Las Vegas, though. The question is, who's going to pony up? Who's going to make the move here? Because I think it could be a championship-worthy move to add a guy like Devante Adams. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you haven't already, drop a quick like on this video. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. We got new sports content every single day. If you want to support the channel more, sign up for a channel membership. You get all sorts of access to cool and exclusive perks. Help support me. Allows me to keep making this great stuff for you guys every single day. If you want to check out one of your teams in person this season, we're into October. The season's heating up. Check out SeatGeek.com. Use code afterthereview for $20 off your first purchase. That's SeatGeek.com. Code afterthereview, $20 off your first purchase. Again, like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.